Hello everyone, welcome to a tactics video. This time reviewing the latest balanced data slate from Games Workshop. Today, the 12th of March 2025. So we're about exactly just over 3 months since the last balanced data slate. In December, we had all the crop mist attachments. And here we are yet again with a whole heap of changes that will definitely impact Astra Militarum from a points and rules point of view. So unless you've been living under a rock, you probably will be knowing by now that the bridgehead strike detachment, the Scions Militarum Tempestus crop mist attachment, has been performing exceptionally well. And of course, the rule gods at GW have paid attention to that and made some pretty big adjustments. So I'm going to go through basically all the changes, the point changes, the rule changes, and also then look at the recently updated statscheck.com to sort of explain why this has all happened. Again, if you're close to this stuff, you'll know, but it's always good to see a bit more data. And crucially here, they've actually dropped in a ton of more data since I last reviewed this last week. So it's going to be quite interesting to see how the actual codex is going. And you can obviously see Bridgehead Strike Force in there as well. So, okay, so straight into the actual rule adjustments in the balanced data slate. Now, they impact three specific parts of the overall rule set. So in that sense, it's positive. There's not loads of rule changes, but there are some pretty key ones. So the first one, if we zoom in right here, obviously impacts the Fire Zone Purge detachment rule for Bridgehead Strike detachment. So this basically has changed it being from +1 to wound to +1 to hit. Now, having spoke with several of my Patrons, and some of you out there as subscribers, is that this is a significant change. However, we have to always remember that we're in a bit of a weird phase. We've gone from an index to a codex, where in the change, Scions rule flipped from reroll 1s to hit, and full rerolls if they're on an objective or target, to reroll 1s to wound, and full rerolls if they're on an objective. Now, of course, crucially, Bridgehead Strike, the detachment rule, is all Astra Militarum infantry gets reroll 1s to hit as well. So, with this all been flipped around like that, this may actually end up in the same place where we were with the index Bridgehead Strike detachment rule, if that makes sense. I could probably do some Mathammer to work it out, but this probably versus the index detachment rule, which is really confusing to sort of say it that way, we probably are just as powerful. And again, I've got to do some Mathammer, but versus the codex detachment rule, where you had full rerolls to wound and you had +1 to wound, is probably you've probably trimmed off some of the power, if that makes sense. It's actually quite hard to sort of conceptualize it properly, because again, index detachment rule, the codex detachment rule, and then the balanced data slate detachment rule, where the rules have basically changed twice, if that makes sense. Now, still, I think there's a lot of power with this. I personally haven't used this detachment rule many times because I don't have enough Scions, but they've also adjusted Scions from a points point of view as well, which will obviously impact this significantly. So +1 to hit basically means now also from an order point of view, you probably have to maybe not take, I think it's the Vox enhancement, whatever it's called, Bombast Vox, I think it's called, which has also got more expensive, is now when you land a big blob with the command squad, the Tempestus Scions ×10, you don't have to be basically using things like a command rod to give the extra order to make you +1 to hit, and also +1 rapid fire weapons as well. So this actually, in a sense, takes away the need to even use the order take aim, obviously for +1 ballistic skill, because you've already got that. So you've got +1 ballistic skill, reroll hit rolls of 1, and then obviously you can then order on top of that front rank fire, second rank fire. So this actually is obviously going to reduce things, but I don't think it's going to kill this attachment rule. The points may get it there, but I think this could be a good math exercise, because I still think there's still a lot of power here. Obviously, Melt is now wounding big, nasty vehicles, and also Plasma, big, nasty vehicles on a 5, not a 4 in the old world is a bit of a change. But given you're getting more high quality hits, if that makes sense, you're going to be getting more hits actually hitting the target because hitting on 2s. Will that massage out the fact you're now wounding on 5s? Granted, reroll 1s to hit, reroll 1s to wound, or full rerolls if they're on an objective. But I think the long and short of it, this is a pretty big adjustment. Obviously, whilst I did say it's better to have more hits going into the wound roll, I still think +1 to wound probably mathematically is more powerful. And you can definitely engineer this through Mathammer if you want to work it out. So let's definitely agree that this is a bit of a downgrade, or it is a downgrade for Militarum Tempestus. But the other one, which again, I only became aware of the power of this strategy. I'm speaking to one of my patrons, so thank you, Luke, you're out there. Medicare Rolf, is that the firing hot stratagem has been increased to 2 command points, previously 1. Now that is 100% more expensive. It is a big jump. I think, again, from some of the comments you've kindly put out there on one of my YouTube posts, is that it feels like, and again, I don't know this too well, but to basically make it now +1, 2 CP, +1 CP, and you have to be within 12 inches to make it effective, potentially is almost like a double nerf. Now, again, you know, if you're deep striking, typically you're doing it within 9, or using a stratagem in this detachment to basically get within 6. This doesn't really matter. It still is a limitation. I don't think it's killing the power, because obviously you're typically landing within 12 anyway, because you want to get rapid fire on your plasma and hotshot volley guns. So this probably isn't too much of a nerf in that aspect, but definitely making it 2 CP now, obviously the instances you'll use is significantly reduced. Now, as I talk about, and again, if you're a Scion connoisseur who's been using this attachment unit all too well, but I think where this obviously helps is the simple math that your hotshot las guns go to strength 4, your hotshot volley guns go to strength 5, and what that crucially means is that versus a toughness 3 target, the hotshot las guns are at strength 4, which means they're wounding on 3s, +1 to wound in the old rule basically means you're wounding on 2s, and likewise, if you're shooting into a toughness 4, you're getting strength 5 into a toughness 4, and obviously then it actually improves it. So against light to medium infantry, this is where it sort of really can be quite nasty. And likewise, you know, hotshot volley guns going into, say, strength 9 vehicles, obviously that also boosts it as well. So against like the lighter vehicles and lighter infantry, this stratagem can be brutal. It obviously gives you +1 AP still. So that means obviously you've got AP2, which is obviously fantastic, because natively all these weaponry except the hotshot marksmanship rifle are AP1. So this is obviously a significant reduction. I don't personally know how much this was being used. Again, if you're a Scion connoisseur, let me know in the comments. But from what I understand from all my patrons, this is a pretty important stratagem to basically definitely help you delete things, because obviously this is what this attachment is all about, is big blobs of science dropping in and just deleting things. Because just so much high quality DACA, which previously was +1 to win, now +1 to hit. Okay, so this is a significant change, and obviously a very targeted approach on the stratagems point of view. Now, of course, within this, it's good the rest of the stratagems haven't been changed. That's positive, because the rest of them are still quite good. Again, I don't know them all too well, but I think they're all pretty decent, except for the artillery fire one, which is a bit of a fun one, but the rest seem pretty good. Now, onto another one, which again I didn't see this coming, is the Krieg Combat Engineer. So the remote mine ability has been significantly changed to being within 9 inches and visible to the bearer. And on a 3-up, they suffer D3 mortal wounds, or 2d3 mortal wounds if it's a vehicle or fortification. So this is a pretty big nerf, because previously it was within 12, didn't have to be visible, and they could suffer up to D6 mortal wounds, or 3 plus D3, I believe, or was it 2d3? But obviously reducing it for the lower one to only D3 is a big change. And let me just find their data sheet. One moment, caller. Viewer, what it was. Yeah, D3 plus 3. So this basically essentially is taken out. It's taken out 3 potential mortal wounds here, and it's stripped out the reliability of this, because now you go from a minimum of 4 before, 3 plus D3, to now you're going to basically 2. So actually, yeah, they're basically half the potential. Obviously, this one, you can still get 6 if you roll 2 6s or 2 5s, but yeah, I'd say basically half the mortal wound potential yeah, roughly, because obviously this used to be 6 mortal wound potential. This is still potential is 6, but now the lowest you can do is 2. Okay, so now let's just say they've half the mortal wound potential. Now this, of course, I think is I've seen people say this is actually a good thing, and I kind of agree, because I did a little video basically speaking about the mortal wound potential of this unit alongside the Kazkin melter mine, and with the old rules, neither of them needed to see the target. So crucially, the Kazkin melter mine doesn't have to see the target, so you can still throw it within 3 inches through a wall, which is cool. But this, you need to be within 9 and also need to be visible. Now, I think within 9 is crucial, because then it means any units with reactive moves can run away or run towards you, versus 12 inches obviously visible. Not visible means you can do it basically in some of the games in UKTC, you could do it across deployment zones without even obviously seeing your opponent's unit. So this is obviously a nerf. I think I've just literally, you can see them back there, almost finished 5, which I'm going to play at an RT this weekend. I still think 1 squad's fine, but it is getting to a point now where 70 points, is it? 70 points? Let's have a look. Krieg Engineers, you can see all the point changes already, but Krieg Engineers, 70 points for 5. Now it's like, no, are these that good anymore? So I think it is. I mean, you still get free grenade stratagem. That's good. That's free CP. In inverted commas, you're not spending CP on the grenade stratagem. But yeah, I don't know. This feels a bit off, because also from a simple lore modeling point of view, the remote mine for these guys is quite a big little thing. It's like a little, obviously, robot that runs around versus the little melter mine, the big dinner plate the guy throws. So you could argue that actually that doesn't feel about right. But yeah. So this is a nerf, definitely a nerf. Are engineers dead? I don't think they're dead. Do you take 3? I mean, I think only some of the best competitive players were. I'm still going to run 1. I still think they've got viability. Free grenades is great, and obviously this thing can pop off and do grenade mortal wounds. Albeit, if this was changed to a 2-up, basically the identical rule to the Scion, to the Kazkin, then it would have felt pretty fair. But yeah, 3-up is not good. But yeah, okay. So yeah, engineers have been trimmed back. I don't think they need to be trimmed back. And then obviously the signed attachment and accompanying stratagem have been significantly changed. So now let's get to the points. Now again, if you're eagle-eyed like I was at 10 a.m. in the UK, I had a look at this straight away, and they had no colour coding, but now they do, so that's good. Now again, looking at the positives, not much has changed. Yeah, if you actually go, again, I always should be positive, is not much has changed. Not many units have gone up or down, so that's good. And I think with all of this, I think there's a lot of excitement. Like I was looking forward to the balanced data slate, good or bad. Change is exciting. It's definitely something to sort of enjoy with 40k, definitely in the modern era. I do know in the previous editions, there weren't any balanced data slates. You could have like busted armies for 12 to 18 months or years. I have a crap army for years. So that is a positive. They're obviously tuning in. Again, unless you're living under a rock or not being close to the meta, you probably knew this was coming. Now, the ones I wasn't expecting was heavy weapon teams. Both Cadian and Catachan flavour have both gone up by 15 points to 65 points for 3. Now, you could argue 50 points previously for 3 was too cheap. But then actually, if you've used them enough, which I have, is they often don't do anything. Some matchups they do, obviously. So your favourite target will be ideally anything which is toughness, 4 or less with a 5-up save, and has only got 1 wound. That's when you like to use them. But then within that, the reason, and this is becoming a bit of a theme as you sort of stay close to 40k, is what they've pretty much done, which again is obvious, and this is understandable how they do it, is they've basically gone to the winning guard lists for Bridgehead Strike, identified the most common units and nerf those. Now you can be quite upset by that if you play casually, which is fair enough. Why are they adjusting just units that the best people use? Now again, always very balanced in my approach is that the best players will look for the units that are the best currently and play them and basically expose their strength or weakness. So again, for example, like no one is taking a Basilisk in the competitive scene because it just doesn't do much anymore, or a Bane Sword, for example. So, but still, this feels like a big jump. I think it's mathematically quite a significant jump if I can find my calculator, but 65 versus 50 from a mathematical increase point of view is a 30% increase. So that is definitely, that's a big jump, for heavy weapon teams. Definitely having done numerous ones of these videos in the past, I think that's a very big jump, 30% increase in points. Now, are they dead? But then it's like at 65 points, do you just take more bodies? You've suddenly got 4 more wounds. You've got double OC. You've got probably arguably less stacker because obviously you've got 3 mortar tubes or 3 las cannons maybe, or 3 auto cannons. But I think spamming these is probably not going to happen anymore. I probably will still play 2, and that's purely from my limited sort of competitive experience in case I run into Eldari, because then obviously Eldari are a perfect type of target where you want to bombard them with mortars because they're 1 wound, they've got a 3 or 4 up save. So it's enough to sort of to keep them a bit of a tickle. But yeah, so I wasn't expecting this. This is a big jump. And again, like the reason why they've done this is because the best players were taking 3 heavy weapon squads with mortars and just with bridgehead strike, with the real ones to hit, suddenly they're hitting on 3.5, because hitting on 401s is roughly a 3.5 ballistic skill. So that is not. I don't think that was needed, personally. Now the other change, which I wasn't expecting, is field ordnance batteries again. It's because the best performing guard lists with bridgehead strike were probably playing these, and again because they're infantry, they get reroll ones to hit from the detachment roll. So a 10% increase to 110 points. Again, I haven't used them actually. I haven't painted them yet. I bought them back in the launch set for the 9th edition Codex, which was years ago. I never painted them. I don't think they're unplayable. 110 still feels pretty decent. I mean, 2d6 blast, 7-1 AP2 was sustained. Obviously, the AP1 is fine, and then 2 damage obviously means you can pick up Space Marines. I think they're still fine. Do they need to be increased? I don't know. But again, in the Bridgehead Strike detachment winning army lists, you're now basically looking at 10 points plus 45 points is 55 points already in 2 units which were commonly taken. So a 2,000 point list is now already 2,045 points for Bridgehead Strike, which is obviously where their focus has been. Now again, there's nothing else, so Krieg Engineers haven't gone up, Cassian haven't gone up, Hydra, blah blah blah. So everything else has stayed the same, which is good. So that's positive. I mean, it would have been good if these got to 65 points because 75 they don't feel amazing at 70. They feel fine. Okay, next along we've then got the Militarum Command Squad, Tempestus Command Squad. So this is a big increase from 75 to 85. Now I can't remember because again it's a bit confusing the comparison versus the last balanced data slate in December. Is that the December balance days had a set of points for the Militarum Tempestus Command Squad, and we'll jump straight into the Scions. Then the Codex was released. Definitely Scions went up by 5 points, so we've almost gone from 60 points for 5-man Scions in December, 65 points when the Codex became official. Now there's 70 points. So actually, they've gone up by 10 points in the last few nights. Not 5, because 5 is versus the official Codex points, which was released sometime last month. So they've actually gone up. Now, I don't actually know what happened to the Command Squad. I can't remember if they were 70 points or gone to 75. But now, these are getting genuinely quite expensive. Again, I've only probably take 1 or 2 blobs maximum, because I'm still a bit boring playing combined arms. But suddenly, you're talking about, for a 15-man def blob, 85 plus 140 is 225. So it's getting quite material. So, and again, if you're playing Bridgehead Strike Force, that means, okay, that's 20 there. Let's say you take 3 big blobs, that's 60. A field ordnance battery is another 10, that's 70. And then if you take 3 heavy weapon squads with mortars, that's another 45 points. You're talking 115 points. And spoiler, and we'll move quickly to it, is that obviously then also the Bombast class Vox array has gone up by 10. Now we're talking 100. Oh god! Now we're talking 125 point increase on a 2,000 point bridgehead strike army. Yeah. Now, did this need to be adjusted? I don't really know. And again, I don't actually know what this will do now, because if you're already +1 to hit when you land, and then you can give front rank fire, second rank fire, so you get extra shots. I don't actually know what this will do anymore. And again, you connoisseurs for Scions may know. Maybe you just give take cover everywhere. That's good, or +1 save, whatever it's called. But I don't know if that will actually do anything. Yeah. So yeah, I think personally, again, I'm boring. I'm playing combined. I'm just boring basics. I probably will basically not take a Scion Death Blob. I was already not sure about it. Having played into a game with my good friend Adam King, who plays Space Marines, and he's playing Blood Angels. We're playing TTS over a couple of nights. I used him. It was in a Death Blob, and I tried to pick up some Sanguinary Guard, Blood Angels, and they picked up 2.5, but it's not like it was obviously when they had reroll hits instead of reroll wounds. Obviously, now if this was Bridgehead Strike Force, would have done a lot better because they get +1 to wound. But I think the shine's starting to come off Science quite significantly. Now, what are the alternatives? I'm already thinking I'm going to try I'm actually going to try the RT I've got this Sunday, which is in the old rules, but I'm still going to try it, is Kazkin with Castellan. Because then, obviously, Castellan is 55 points, Scions, Kazkin 110. That's 165. You are saving yourself 140. You are saving yourself 60 points versus the Scion Death Blob. Now, obviously, you don't get the reroll wounds, but at least with the Castellan and also the Kazkin can self-order, you give yourself +1 to hit, front rank fire, second rank fire, and you get sustained from the Castellan. You get 4 less special weapons. Well, you get 3 because Kaz can have a sniper rifle, and you get a melter mine. So it is an alternative. You're probably side grading slightly downwards. You're getting less stack, obviously, less quality of wound hits because you can't re-roll them. But when you're saving 60 points versus what you've got to pay now for a Scion Death Blob, it probably is the alternative choice, is Kazkin with a Castellan. And that's cool because I've always wanted to use a Castellan, but I was like, why would you do that when you just got Scions? But now Scions have been pretty nerfed. And I'd say even 5 now. Definitely before Bridgehead was a thing all through last year, I was just using 5-man blobs for scoring. But would you still use a 5-man blob for scoring? I don't know, maybe. They're still a good data sheet, for scoring now. Drop them into enemy lines, turn 3, turn 4, turn 5, or just try and do containment or whatever else you're trying to do. Because obviously their footprint's a lot bigger than 10 jungle fighters or 10 battle line across the options. And obviously they've got deep strike as well. So, yes, this is a big change. Obviously very targeted for Militarum Tempestus detachment. With, I would say, the average list going up by, let's call it 150, because obviously they take mortars, they take a field arms battery, 3 death blobs, as I calculated, and probably two squads of just normal 10-man Scions coming down. So let's call it 130, 150 points. Let's call that's the high end. So 15 point, 150 divided by 2,000 is a 8% point increase on a standard Scion list. So yeah, Scions are probably not as playable as they used to be if you're playing quite competitively. Obviously, within the casual scene, there's still a good sheet, a data sheet. They're still powerful, sustained, lethals in combined arms, and there are other ways to make them quite good. Again, one of my patrons has been great at identifying in the siege attachment. You can give your Tempesta Prime the pistol, so he gets 3 plasma shots, and then you can use the flare burst stratagem, I think it is, to get 4 rerolls to hit. And then you get 4 rolls to wound as well. So that's Tank Commander Watchdog Van Etten out there, James. It's a good one he's got. So there are ways to make them work, albeit they're not going to be working as well as they did because obviously they're more expensive. But again, if you're not playing Bridgehead, you know, you need to cough another 20 points. Is that going to break the bank? No. You know, if you're playing heavy weapon teams, like 15 points for one of them, is it going to break the bank? No, because everything else will stay the same. But again, if you're spamming this, that's where the problem is. But I personally think I'm going to try Tempestus Scions, the command blob with friends to Kazkin and Castellan. So yeah, what do you think of the changes? Again, you know, from a positive point of view, not everything has gone up, just Scions. And this is not nice, but you know, what's your perspective on this? I'd love to hear from you. And again, I think this was bound to happen, yeah, because Scions were crushing it in the competitive scene. So now, our good friends at statcheck.com have imported way more data, and this is when obviously you can see why it needed an adjustment. Now, this is as at the 11th of March, so was updated yesterday by the fantastic ladies and gents, and it basically now has captured Eldari and Astra Militarum, the new codex, which is cool. So, interestingly, you can see Guard is starting to slip. And the reason for this, when you expose all the detachments, and again, this is a fantastic resource, is basically because it's got more of the additional regiments. So if I click on this, it should display it up here to be easier to see on the right here. Yeah, so you can see Bridgehead Strike, 58% win rate, which actually is tuned back, because when I did this last time, it was sitting in the 60s, so very high, which is crazy. But then Hammer of the Emperor 51, Recon Element 50, interesting. Siege 43, Mech Assault 42, and then my favourite Combined Arms at 35%. Ugh. So obviously Bridgehead Strike is holding up the detachments with Hammer of the Emperor Recon doing fine. But the other three, arguably, I think anything below 45 is not looking good with Combined Arms obviously striking. Now, you can see 23 players, 12 players, 15 players, 14, 56, and 111. So Bridgehead is by far the most popular. And again, this is a fantastic way to interpret the data they provide us here. But this column here, once I show that, is the player population. So 6% of players are playing Astra Militarum, which the most popular is Bridgehead Strike, followed by Hammer of the Emperor. And then this column here, from memory, is event wins. This one here is 4-0. So players have finished 4-0, obviously done quite well. And interestingly, you can see Mech Assault. And this will be actually, I know David Gaylard, one of the best guard players in the world, will be contributing to this data because he went 4-0. Oh, actually, I think he went 3-0 actually, Dave. Apologies if you're watching him, but still very powerful performance. And you can then see, as I said, Combined Arms is not doing well, albeit it's only 23 games across 5 players. But yeah, I think in the previous data set, Bridgehead was just destroying people. But obviously within this, we've got Eldari have popped up. Where's Eldari? Because, yeah, okay, 54. But again, they have a limited amount of 8%. So getting very popular. And having only played into Eldari once, where Rob, one of my friends, played Harlequins, is that they have a lot of potential to be very nasty. I managed to win that somehow. They're still very squishy. Obviously, elves are elves. Managed to kill loads of his boats, which was nice. But then I think in the hands of a skilled player, Eldari are going to do awful things to people again. Not as bad as when they had fake dice, which was just bullshit. But it's got a lot of nice tricks. So, yeah, okay. So, you know, Bridgehead needed to be adjusted. It's been significantly adjusted. The other detachments like Hammer and Recon are doing fine, but it is a worry to see Siege, Mech Assault, and Combined doing very poorly across the board. I would say that, you know, and again, I take a very balanced approach, is that, you know, these attachments for the more less experienced and casual players, I wouldn't say they feel like they're super good, and good is a pretty loose word, but like compared to what Eldari got, they got loads of tricks. And again, maybe it will take us time to learn what is the right build for Hammer the Emperor, because personally I just can't make it work. I know you can just spam loads of Lemon Russ, or go full transport options and just drive transport through walls, drop off OC or Kazkin doing loads of mortal wounds, or Deathcore Engineers, which have been tuned back. Recon obviously is an attachment which into the right matchup will be amazing, but then it lacks teeth. But having, again, you saw my video last week, some players are doing very well with Recon detachment. And yeah, I think Siege weirdly may have some work, but then obviously the data's not been quite nice to Mech Assault, which probably will become the other option for Bridgehead, because obviously jumping out of transports, getting the same thing is very good. But then also speaking to Guardsman Easingwood, one of my patrons out there, he's tried that, and have also from experience, I think Mech Assault is quite hard to deliver your damage. You can be movement blocked on your transports, and depending on the deployment and also terrain type, definitely UKTC, I think you have to be very skillful in delivering your damage, in inverted commas. You have to drive around terrain, obviously, get the boys out, and if they don't delete something, they'll just get massacred, because obviously they're only toughness 3 models. So I think out of this was to be expected. We're all sort of seeing this from the data that Bridgehead needed to be adjusted. It's been significantly adjusted. I think now we've got more data. I don't think Guard is going to be as powerful as it once was. Definitely the highlights of last year when we had Bulgrams, which were wild. Tempestus the Killings with their 3-inch deep strike. I enjoyed that. I chased the meta. I bought 2 squads. It was amazing for movement block. It was just comical. Like, we've had our time in the sun. I think we're going to start getting a bit more shade, in inverted commas, throughout the rest of this year. Well, fortunately and unfortunately, but again, some very skilled players are going to pick up the army and do very well, much better than I am. But yeah, I think it's we're still a very good faction. We're not like we were beginning of 10th or the dark old ages of 9th edition. We had no codex. We're not that bad. We still got loads of play. You can still hold a very tight game with combined arms, but certainly it's not as easy as it used to be. But anyway, so what's your perspective? Love to hear from you. Again, on the state of the meta, the point changes, point increases, and also the rule changes as well. So I'd love to hear from you. Put them in the comments. And as always, if you enjoy this video and want to support my channel, you can do so with a like, comment, or by subscribing, or simply watching any of my other YouTube videos. I'm a true Astra Militarum variety channel covering everything from the tactics of 40k like this here, where I bring a relaxed but competitive approach to 40k, the lore of Astra Militarum, where I do some videos, often looking at drawing on my experience from the Australian Army, what it'll be like a guardsman in the 41st millennium, and also hobby videos like painting, assembling, unboxing, and kit bashing videos as well. So if you want to further support, you can become a Patreon. Join my Patreon platoon, get a little miniature assigned to you when I do roll call in the video, becoming a channel member. And actually also you can buy some channel dice. I had these printed in the US by Dice Baron. Some beautiful custom dice, 16mm sharp edge, which you can't see there, but they're also camouflaged as well. So in the description is the details how to buy them, and basically send me an email and I'll post them to you around the world via a PayPal link and ship them out to you. So super thanks to my current supporters and patrons. Really keeps me motivated to produce more videos for you in the Astra Militarum Imperial Guard community. Let's get your bayonet sharp, lasgun oiled. Pray for the Emperor strong. Patreon platoon, sound off. Tank Commander Glenn. Tank Commander Watchdog Van Etten. Tank Commander Mitchell. Lieutenant Burke Nilsson. Lieutenant Smith. Colour Sergeant DuPont. Sergeants Adal, Scott, the Colonel Merrill, Veteran Gibson, Hall, Lundeen, Guardsman Beard, Coquelin, Easingwood, Hills, Malik, Nitin, Nguyen, Medicae, Rolfe, Tonkin, Conscript England, Evan Gunn, Goodwin, Honorary Members Bulgram King, Psyker Smith, Sion Gaylard, Aquilin Nassine.